Do you want to be today, Doug?
Well, let's try Doug Nesbitt. You probably don't know him, but maybe you will by the end of the meeting. Let's see. Remember my name for future meetings. I don't know how it got in as Doug. That's interesting. There
And
we
then
go.
Jill, perfect. Jill, could you give myself, Doug, and AJ screen sharing capability?
Yes, let's see. Jeremy, if you could make sure their screen share is on.
Yep.
All good?
Wait, hold on. Doug and David.
While he's fixing that, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of get started with our announcements so that way we can keep moving because I know last time we ran out of time. Um, so basically what I want to do before we get the meeting started is talk about a couple different things we have coming up here. So Thursday, if you are a new agent at NRG and you didn't get an invite from me, please reach out. We have a new agent orientation Thursday at 6 o'clock. It's a Zoom call. We're just kind of go over everything NRG. So that way you are set up for success getting started with us. And then we also have a CE class that's a free 2-hour CE class coming up on March 20th. There is a link in the NRG Connect Facebook page if you want to be a part of that. Go and RSVP for that. And then you will get an invite from me. Make sure everybody gets there. Again, limited space for that one. We are only taking about 5 more people for that free CE because we are limited to space. So get in there, register for that. Today, our Tuesday call, we brought this group back because of the fact that there was so much request to just talk about down payment assistance. We went over it as a part of a topic a few weeks ago with David and AJ, and we had so much response coming back about getting more information. So I had asked them to come back and just basically talk about down payment assistance and how you guys can help your clients. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to them and definitely take notes. Feel free to reach out to them after the call too, and they'll give you guys all the information. But you guys have the floor.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it, Jill. Yeah, thank you for having us back. We really appreciate it. We're glad everybody had interest, and I think you'll find the presentation today. It's nothing too new per se. We did touch on this briefly before, but we are going to go through a lot more detail, and we've got a really special guest, Doug Nesbitt, we'll introduce here in a second too. One thing I wanted to make sure, Doug and AJ, I'm going to throw it right now in here, but if you guys can just be sure when you get a chance, throw your contact information in the chat. That way it's in here for the recording, and then that way anybody will be able to contact us and or visit website, schedule a Calendly, that kind of thing too. So I wanted to, let me screen share here. Let me share just a couple of stats I thought would be interesting just to begin. So there was a recent Redfin, well, relatively recent, back in September, survey. 1 in 5 millennial respondents believe they will never own a home. And that's a pretty sad statistic. But if you look down, lack of affordability is the #1 barrier to homeownership for young Americans. Lack of affordability. And the most commonly cited barrier usually is down payment. Nearly half, 1/3, lack of ability to save for a down payment is the barrier. We had another article that was a little more recent as well. Only 16% of home listings were actually affordable for the typical household in 2023. This is the bottom. If you look at the chart here, this is what's happened over the years. It's become less and less affordable for families. And again, the main reason why people say this is because of the fact, it was on the other one here, is because if you look at the stats, homes are too expensive, ability to save for down payment, and mortgage rates are too high, which ties into monthly payment. So we're talking about the affordability here being the challenge. And that's some of the things that we at CMG really strive to fix or to find solutions for. through a combination of both being very in tune with down payment assistance options out there, as well as some proprietary products that we've created in-house to make things easier for families. And if you want to know where rates are at today, I thought it might be worth sharing this. This is a site called mortgagenewsdaily.com. It's a free third-party site. I enjoy sharing this with clients and realtor partners because it's one of the best ways to track what rates are doing in the market. You'll see a lot of advertisements out there, all up and down, usually a lot lower, showing lower than what the market actually is. But this is a poll nationwide every day that happens. And in this poll, they check and ask, what are the average interest rate locks for best execution? Top tier credit, massive down payment, no challenges at all. This is where a 30-year fixed rate as of this morning is sitting at, roughly. And again, these will vary depending on lender, but this is the average. If we look at the forecast, though, this is an economist site that I use to track and help see what's happening in the market now and future. You look at where we are in January, February, March, interest rates are not going down. We're seeing rates probably hovering in the same high sixes, which is pretty darn close to where it is today. But the forecast is that starting in April, look what starts happening over time. Now, I don't know if we're actually going to see the fours by the end of the year, but at the very minimum, even if rates say get into the fives by the end of the year, if this holds true, there's actually another stat that says for every 0.5% rates drop, another 500,000 potential homeowners enter the market. 500,000. So, or excuse me, for every 0.5%, 5 million more enter. So the rates drop from 7 to 6.5 to 6 to 5.5. That's 20 million more potential buyers. The problem is the psychology. People don't think it's affordable. Even if rates come down a little bit, they still may struggle with this a little bit because of that down payment issue. And we're also going to have a shortage of inventory. So we have to find ways to help with that struggle as well. But what we want to talk about today is two things. We want to talk about our proprietary product again, which is called Home Funded, which I'm going to let Doug introduce. And then we want to talk about a little bit more on the state, city, county, and neighborhood programs that are out there as well to use down payment assistance to help with the buy side of this. So at this point, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Mr. Doug Nesbitt so he can kick off this presentation. He's going to take up the majority of the time, which is what we want. So we're in for a special treat. I actually just met Doug officially in person here in Nashville at our sales conference a couple weeks ago, and he was kind enough to offer to do this for us. So he is actually our national director, long title, National Director of Affordable Finance and Fair Lending. So this guy basically runs our affordability side of CMG Financial, which again, we are the largest #1 independently owned mortgage company in the world. So Doug's got a lot on his shoulders here, but I'll let you take it over, Doug. Take it away, and look forward to the presentation.
All right. Thanks, David, and thank you, Jill and team, for allowing me to be a part of your meeting this morning. And it's great to be with everybody. It's bright and early here on the West Coast where I live. We're just seeing the back end of a big, huge. They keep calling it atmospheric river, but you know, you guys have far worse weather than we do. Yeah, as David said, my focus is on all products affordable and low down payment programs for low income buyers, first time buyers, underserved communities. And we've got a huge arsenal of programs that can really help in that area. And I think part of it is that a lot of folks don't know about all of them. They don't think about them all the time. When we think of mortgages, we tend to think of the 30-year fixed. That's just sort of the plain mortgage, and that you got to have 20% down. And there's so many folks out there that it's amazing that the myth still persists, that it's very, very difficult to come up with 20%. And the truth is, there's a lot of programs where you can get there quicker. One of them is, as David said, is the Home Funded program. We brought that program to light about 5 years ago. We've been steadily learning about our own program for the last 5 years to figure out kind of how it really fits best within the marketplace. And really in the last couple of years, the Home Funded program has really been firing on all cylinders. We've been setting records every month. Even as the market has slowed down, Home Funded has picked up. And actually, we just even last month, again, we set another record on the program. So As more and more people come to figure out how to utilize it, we're seeing more and more success with the program. And my goal here today is to show you guys how to use it, to give you some tools and strategies to build your business using this program, not just show you what it is and how it works, but really how to put it to use. So I'm going to walk you through that and then show you the strategies. In fact, we have 6 strategies that people are using to build their business with it. So grab your pencils, hang on, and we will get through that really quickly here as we go, and we'll leave some time at the end for questions and answers. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. Hopefully I can get that to work here. And there we go. Can you guys see that green screen there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So I want to start before I dive into Home Funded, just so that you guys know, there are, as David mentioned, there's a bunch of state level programs. We have them in all states that we operate in, all 50 states. But we have a ton of low down payment program options that I just want to make sure that people are aware of, because when you couple those programs with a powerhouse program like Home Funded, you can really get a lot of stuff done. And it brings hope for a lot of folks. Two or three of the programs that are really powerful get you down in the range of 3% for a down payment. One of them is Fannie Mae's Home Ready program. We do a lot of those. In fact, if your income is less than 50% of the area median income, there's an additional $2,500 grant that Fannie Mae offers on top of that. So you should definitely keep that out there. 3% for Home Ready Fannie Mae, 3% for Freddie Mac as well with their Home Possible program. Again, they kind of tied Fannie Mae with a grant for folks who make less than 50% of the area median income, $2,500 there. And we've got a fantastic program called Classic Community. Again, 3% down. It's available in specific markets, so you kind of have to check. But the pricing on that loan is phenomenal, so it can get the rate into the place where people really can afford it. We've got a new program that we're rolling out around the country right now, not yet available where you guys are, but coming soon. In fact, we're meeting this week to see if we can expand it to another 15 states. And we're gradually rolling that program out. We think that within the next few months, it'll be national. It is a 2% grant up to $6,000 with phenomenal loan pricing on it, which really for a lot of folks is going to get them down to 1% down. And that program is rapidly rolling out everywhere. It's our special purpose credit program. It's available in specific majority minority marketplaces. And then, as you guys know, there's programs that are like USDA, VA, and those are 0% down. We've got a great program called FHA Buyer's Choice. You should talk to David about that. It's an FHA program with a second that's attached to it, a down payment assistance second. Effectively can get you down pretty close to 0% in most cases, depending on the scenario. So there's programs to get that down payment down. Again, every situation is different, so the down payment still is a challenge for a lot of folks. So that's where we built a program called Home Funded. And Home Funded is a program that, as I said, we launched at the end of 2017. We've been steadily learning about how to apply it for buyers across the country. And I train on it pretty extensively. It's exclusive to our company. And you'll kind of see why as you go along, and there's quite a lot to it. And excited to talk to you about it. So what does Home Funded do? It does 3 things. One of them is it focuses on that down payment problem and really works to solve that problem. And 2, it helps you as an agent hold on to buyers who aren't ready. I'm going to talk a lot about that because that is one of the biggest advantages of using a program like Home Funded. And then an even bigger advantage is that once people buy a home, it helps them get more downstream referrals helps you get more downstream referrals after they buy. So we all know the deal about first-time home buyers. There's high housing prices, rents are high and rising, and student debt is a problem. We hadn't seen student debt in previous real estate cycles quite as much. I've been in the industry a long time, as you guys can probably tell. Student debt is now a factor that we didn't really used to see that before. And when you talk to renters, most of them will tell you that the down payment is the reason they're not in the market. So they're on the sidelines. How many of those folks are on the sidelines? Lots. When you take a look at prospective buyers versus current buyers are in the market. Prospective buyers are the ones who say, Buying a home is important. I hope to buy a home someday. I'm just not in one right now. I'm waiting. I just started that first job. I just got married. I'm going to buy a house after that. All of the reasons. I have bad credit, or my income isn't quite enough yet, or there's just no inventory. We've heard everything, the reason people don't buy. So there's prospective buyers on the sidelines, and there's current buyers in the market. The ratio is 10-1. Freddie Mac basically says there are 41 million mortgage-ready potential buyers out there. These are folks who are 40 years and younger. They have a FICO of 620 or better, DTI under 25%, no foreclosures, bankruptcies, or severe delinquencies in the last 12 to 48 months. So the bottom line is those folks are capable of paying for a mortgage, right? On the average home. There's 41 million of them out there. 60% of those are first-time buyers. The rest of them are folks who have either owned a home in the past, aren't right now, etc. So 10-1, there's 4 million current buyers per year. And when you take a look at the share of first-time buyers, and we all know this, the share of first-time buyers who are in the market today gets squeezed down from about 60% of the folks who would love to buy a house to 32%. And that number's been as low as 26% recently. First-time buyer share. The down payment is the reason people are not in the market in general. There are people who have credit issues, or they have other issues, but coming up with the down payment is the #1 problem. So how do you solve that? Well, one of the ways that folks deal with down payment gifting is they get a little bit of help from somebody else, and we call that down payment gifting. When you take a look at how down payment gifting is utilized, it really under-delivers versus its potential. What we see in the National Association of Realtors says 23% of purchases from first-time buyers see a little bit of help from good old bank of mom and dad, 23%. Even though under Fannie, Freddie, FHA guidelines, other relatives can help with that down payment, but there's some very big reasons they don't. And we kind of know what those are. When you think about the system, it's kind of a hassle for your buyer. You have to go get paper checks from people. They have to have someone fill out a gift letter. Sometimes there are financial statements that are called for by the underwriter. There's crazy sourcing rules around who's a relative and who's not a relative. Did you guys know cousins are not relatives? One would think they would be, but the point is that it's complicated. And when you think about when the buyer actually learns about down payment gifting and how it's done and how to do it right, they're sitting across the table from David, they're filling out a loan application, and he says the obvious question, where's the down payment coming from? And they say, well, mom and dad said they would help. Great. And then they move on. And there isn't much talk of going back out to the grandparents and the aunts and the uncles and siblings, all the people who can legitimately give and help, who might want to help in many cases. They never get asked because there's all this friction in the system. We took a look at that back in 2017 and said that everything else we do is online. Why are we doing this in this paper-based system? Let's try to move this online. And that's how we built Home Funded. We said, let's make it so that people can give online with a debit card or a credit card, no offline paperwork. And that allows people to much more easily help with that down payment. All they have to do is be asked, and they can easily help with that down payment. In fact, we didn't stop. We went a little step further and we said, let's just make it so that anyone can give, right? So anyone can give to that down payment. That means friends, cousins, teammates, co-workers, wedding guests, that's a huge one. And anyone can give up to $5,000 per donor, no maximum on how much you can raise. You can keep going. No commissions, no hidden costs. If you try to do this on Kickstarter, GoFundMe, there are any of the other platforms out there, you'd have a big old problem at the end because some of your money would go to those guys. We pass 100% through to the transaction. And there's no time limits. That's a huge one. That means you can start Home Funded campaign as early as you want. There's no minimum age. You do not need to have a loan file in place. All you have to do is want to buy a house, and you have to have people who would love to help you. Most people have someone who loves them and wants to help them along the way. When you think about it, think about when you graduated from high school or college. You sent out a little graduation announcement to a bunch of people. And what happened when you did that? Well, money comes back. When you got married, you sent out a wedding invitation to a whole bunch of people. What happened, when you did that? Well, presents and funds and things like that come back. In fact, some people fly all the way across the country to be at your wedding. So there are people out there who know you and love you and want to see you through those big milestones. And that's what we see with Home Funded. we've boiled this thing down to a elevator pitch that we call online down payment gifting from anyone. That means we've moved the process online and we've made it so that anyone can help with that down payment. And as I almost forgot to point out here, it works with every loan program out there except for the HFA and bond programs from the various state agencies. So that means it works with your conventional loans. It works with the Home Possible and Home Ready programs that we just saw before. 3% down plus some down payment gifting from family and friends. You can get it done. It works with FHA. It works with VA, USDA, works with jumbo programs. It works with our exclusive all-in-one program. It works with our non-QM programs. So pretty much anything you can think of, it'll work with Home Funded. Home Funded just helps you build that down payment faster because you're getting help from all kinds of people. In fact, anyone can help. It sets up very, very easily. They just go through a few simple setup screens and presto, they've got a page on the web where people can help with that down payment. All they got to do is share the web page with them any way they want, and those people can jump in and help. As you can see here, those pages look like everything. Family, friends, crazy pictures, weddings, graduations, dogs, cats, we've seen it all. They have a lot of control over what that page looks like. They can control a picture and the campaign title. There's a nice little down payment, or there's a nice little story that they can customize. The loan officer and real estate agent are both featured on the campaign page. There's a place in the upper right where people can contribute, and that's easy to do. You just click that blue button there. There's a second way to add funds to a campaign. It's called Up It. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And in the bottom right, you can see where all the gifts are coming in. That section gets pretty long on a lot of campaigns. We match those gifts coming in 2 to 1, up to the lesser of $2,000 or 1% of purchase price. We apply that as a lender credit at closing. So it's very, very easy to get that 2 to 1 match up to the $2,000 level. There's only 2 requirements. One is you got to be a first-time buyer, and we use the 3-year Fannie Mae rule for that. Haven't owned a house in the last 3 years. Only one person has to be a first-time buyer. And this is a big one. You have to do home buyer ed before you get into a purchase contract. A lot of loan programs only require you to do home buyer ed before you close. But we actually require, and it's part of our agreement with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, that you do it prior to signing a purchase contract. Sort of makes sense when it's the biggest purchase of your life, right? It's free. It's 1 hour over the phone. We've got a cool system with GreenPath. You can jump right into it right from your campaign page. Or if you want, you can use any HUD-approved online course. But you got to get it done before you get into contract. So that's a big one. Now, you don't need to be a first-time buyer to use the platform. It's just to get the $2,000. We do see some move-up buyers using the platform once in a while. Situations like divorce and disaster. Had a wildfire situation here in California recently where someone lost their home, and we use the platform. I'm going to skip this slide here. Up It is a second way to add funds to a campaign. And I mentioned that earlier. And you do that simply by shopping. This is the only place you can shop and get a bigger down payment in the process. You click in through the campaign page, and it opens up about 1,000 online retailers. Each one of them rebates a certain percentage of what gets spent back to the down payment as a pledge at closing. It's a pledge at closing so that you have to actually close to get those funds. That makes it a retention feature as well. Anybody can shop, family, friends, even the buyer can shop, the loan officer can shop, real estate agent can shop. All the stores you know and love are in here. So all these stores contribute to the down payment. Each one of them different, and sometimes even within the store, various items are different. But good example, Home Depot, 8% back to the down payment. Pretty cool if you shop Home Depot. And just like the gift money coming in that we match 2 to 1, we match those rebate pledges 2 to 1 towards that same $2,000 lender credit. So it's a second way to get there. We have a Chrome extension that you can install, makes it so that you don't even have to go by the campaign page and start there. You can just install the Chrome extension. Family and friends can install the Chrome extension. That makes it so that anybody goes to any of those stores, it automatically pops up. Oh, I forgot to go to the campaign page. No worries. It pops up, connects that shopping trip to the down payment of the person you're helping. So it's a really cool way to make sure that anytime you're doing any online shopping, you're helping somebody with the down payment. Also, you can get another way to that $2,000. You can share your campaign on social, and you get $10 every time you share your campaign on social per person per platform per day. That means if you share it on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn today, you'd get $30 towards your $2,000. Your friend could do the same thing and get you another $30 basically. So it's a great way to easily get yourself to that $2,000 besides the gifting and besides the shopping. Each buyer has a nice little dashboard that controls their campaign with a to-do list that kind of helps them on their way. They can start their home buyer ed from here. They can start a pre-qual from here when they're ready. They can even email family and friends from here, and we give them some nice little sample emails that can help them out. So they have full control over their campaign page. I'm going to skip these because David will cover all that stuff. We've done about 2,000 of these campaigns. In fact, we're probably over 2,000 as of today. We see everything. It works with every loan program. So we see big loans, small loans, strong buyers, not so strong buyers. People are using it in all different types of ways. We see huge campaigns, we see weddings, we see very small campaigns. It's just up to each person and how they want to use it, and really more up to their network. We see some very large ones. These are some examples of some of the larger campaigns recently. What I'd say though, the sweet spot campaign, this is what I would say a good solid campaign that anybody can really achieve is 5 to 15,000, 5 to 15 donors. All you need is a good looking, well shared campaign. We see these every day of the week. This is a couple who had actually found out about Home Funded after they got married. They were kind of bummed they didn't find out about it before they got married, but they went ahead and set up a campaign page because they were buying a house like the traditional thing after they got married. Went back to the same group of people who came to their wedding. They didn't think anybody would give because everybody had already given them something for their wedding, and they ended up with almost 11,000 from 13 people. So pretty exciting and very typical campaign for folks. What's really important here that I want to point out is that 13 people jumped in and helped with that campaign, even though they didn't expect it. And those people were really happy to be able to help. They're excited to be able to be a part of it through Home Funded, find an easy way to help them out. All they had to do was pull out a credit card and bam, those people had a small gift. And what's really important, even more than the amount of money that was raised, is what we call the Home Funded network effect. In a typical purchase, you have 4 main players on stage: loan officer, realtor, buyer, and seller. And you're hoping you're going to get a little bit of help from the referrals you're getting from the buyer. With Home Funded, you've got those 11 donors who are out there who were part of that campaign, who are part of helping their friend buy a house through this thing called Home Funded. Those people all have their own networks. They go out and talk about this program that's exclusive to you, that they can drive back to you basically, and generates referrals. The key thing here with generating the referrals from all these donors is to come up with a donor network. And how do you do the donor network? Well, you start early. You give your buyer enough time to talk to family and friends when it's convenient, when grandma comes to visit, when they're out at the ballpark with their friends, when they're at the backyard barbecue. The bottom line is when they have time, they conveniently bring it up. Hey, you remember we're shopping for a home? We're trying this thing called Home Funded. And they usually pull out their phone and they show them the campaign page on their phone. And their friend says, that's pretty cool. And they'll come by the campaign page, make a small donation, and away they go. So with enough time, you end up with a buyer who's talking to family and friends over as life kind of happens. And they end up with that donor network that ultimately becomes a point of referral for you. And that's how you get these downstream referrals that grow your pipeline. We actually encourage that by sending email campaigns to those folks who donate. This is a donor update on how things are going. So when the house and the loan funds, we send an email out to the donors thanking them, on behalf of the buyer, and we feature the loan officer and the real estate agent. We just say, again, hey, the house just closed. Thanks again. We couldn't have done it without you. And we do that again at 1 month, 3 months, and 1 year out. Hey, it's been a full year. Again, thanks again for donating to our campaign. Here's the team that helped us. So we encourage that drives that downstream referrals, and make sure that those donors are remembering that, hey, yeah, you helped with that person buying their house. So that's how the program works. How do you actually get this out there and grow your pipeline using this tool? Well, we have 6 strategies that people are using to get this out there. I'll walk through these really quick, then we'll do a quick wrap up and some Q&A. The number one strategy to kind of get things started, this is kind of a baseline strategy, is to put together a realtor portal. Each one of you guys can set one of these up in about 2 minutes. All you need is your logo and your picture. They've got some great, fantastic marketing tools in there and some nurture marketing that's going to keep you in front of potential buyers, no matter how long their timeline happens to be. These realtor portals are fantastic. They've got your branding automatically applied to them, your contact information and your picture. It's got a big green button. All you got to do is tell your buyer, hey, get one of these started right here. Come to my page, click the green button, and the buyer can get started on Home Funded. That's how you put a buyer in your pipeline. It's got a ask a question panel so that if people have a question about the program, this goes right back to your email. There is video that explains how the program works. Once you get some campaigns up and running, there's a showcase that starts to appear. All the campaigns you're associated with show up here on your portal. And that's a great thing because other people who visit your portal can see how you're helping first-time buyers. All those are live, so you can click right into them. I think you're in one of the states that allow for realtor fee negotiation, helping with closing costs. So in all those states, in most states, you can help with closing costs, and you can do a dollar for dollar pledge towards closing costs on the campaign page. So if you're helping with some closing costs today, this is a better way to do it. Why is it a better way to do it? Because it incentivizes your buyer to go out there and get more donations. Every time they go out there, they can now say, my lender is matching 2 to 1. My real estate agent's matching 1 to 1. Would you like to help me with my down payment? In so many words. And it just gives your buyer some more ammo out there when they're talking with, family and friends that says, hey, there's a team behind me that's helping, and we're doing this thing called Home Funded. So it's a great way to do it. Plus, it's kind of a nice little retention tool. And anytime somebody donates, you get free publicity, as you can see here. Inside your portal, there is a marketing center that has downloadable social graphics. You can download those and share them out on the web. And even better, there are some testimonial videos that you can share on the web. And these are fantastic testimonial videos, really because they have your branding built right onto the video. So each one of these, you pop it open, you will see your brand and your picture and your contact information applied right to your right to the video automatically by your portal. Super easy to share these. I'll show in just a second. And there's a contact form on that as well, so that anywhere this video goes, people are going to be able to get right back to you. There are 7 of those videos in there, all different stories about Home Funded and how it's helped people. You can see my branding on the sample one here. And all I'm doing is I'm just going to click the share button underneath the video image. And that pops up and open a share on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. And you can basically put in some call to action copy, click the post button, and it goes right into your social media timeline. So it's super easy to share these and do some marketing for the weekend in just a couple seconds. Again, they're telling the story of how Home Funded is helping people get into a home. And as you guys know, you can boost that post if you have a Facebook page. And if you're not sure about what to write at the top of those posts, no worries, we've already done that for you. Each one of those videos has a page that corresponds to it in a little marketing kit. Grab that marketing kit, find the video that you want to share, steal a copy off that page, post it on, stick it on your post, and you don't even have to think up any call to action copy. It's already written. And so it's really easy to get the word out. We made it as easy as possible to share these videos because they really do drive conversations. So it's easy to get one of those portals. So you can execute strategy 1 by just going to realtor.homefunded.com, realtor.homefunded.com. And all you're going to do is pick a password for your site. You're going to put in some information about you and your company, pick a vanity URL for your site, be world's greatest realtor.com. And then you're going to upload your logo and your picture. You're going to write a little about me statement about you. And then we are going to then use the drop down to select the loan officer that you work with. And then the last thing you got to do is you got to decide if you're going to do a matching pledge. And again, some great reasons to do that. Instead of just helping with closing costs directly, you can make it an incentive. which drives the things you want, which ultimately leads to referrals. And again, you can cap that at any amount you want, dollar for dollar, up to 500. I see a lot of those. Weekly email statements. Now, once you get a campaign up and running, your buyer is going to get a weekly email statement with your branding on it. It gives them an update on their campaign. They get that every single week. So if you've got a buyer who's just finishing college and not planning on buying a house till they get married and want to shop for a home in 18 months, let's say, they're going to get a weekly email statement for you while they're running that campaign for no matter how long. Anytime something happens on a campaign, there's a trigger email that goes out that says somebody shared, somebody shopped, somebody donated. So there's plenty of communication out there. Nurture marketing is built into the program. So easy to get one of these, realtor.homefundit.com. Strategy 2. This is probably the hottest strategy right now, and this is weddings. Home Funded is a natural for that. When you think about the fact that 65% of people getting married will buy a house within 48 months of getting married, that means that group of people is a very, very high potential audience, basically. The other big trend that we're leveraging here is that 40% of weddings and growing do cash funds now. The traditional registry is going down. The cash funds are going up in terms of weddings. I'm talking to wedding planners every single week that want to use this program. And it's a very simple pitch. Let your wedding guests help you with your down payment. We have a lot of folks going out doing wedding expos. They're standing there with the table. They do this pitch. Everybody walking by the table goes, yeah, I get it. This is great. I talk to wedding planners all the time. One of the things they oftentimes tell me is that couples don't know what to do with the registry these days. They have all the stuff. And if you go to a thrift store, you can prove it to yourself. It's full of china, crystal, and silver, right? People don't want that stuff anymore. And kids getting married, they want a house. They need the down payment for a house. So when you put those two things together, you focus on the trend that most weddings are now starting to do cash funds. Most of the people getting married want to buy a house. It's a very easy sell. We've got some great marketing support materials. We've got a best practices kit. We've got backdrops, banners, you name it. And we're seeing probably every weekend there's wedding expos around the country that have Home Funded at it. Very easy for the buyer. They just put a QR code leading to their campaign page in their save the date announcement, in their wedding announcement, and they tell their wedding guests, hey, instead of a traditional registry, we're doing Home Funded and trying to raise money for our down payment. We don't need more stuff. That's it. And so it's probably the hottest strategy in Home Funded right now. Strategy 3, the next gen buyer. The typical ask of an older customer, when you're thinking about maybe helping their kids buy a house is, call me when your kids are ready to buy a house, right? Don't forget about me. That's only so effective. So those older customers are the gatekeepers to their kids, and you want to do business with their kids as their kids, come of age and you start to buy a house. You want to be the agent that helps them. Home Funded is fantastic because it has no time limits. You can set up a campaign page no matter when that person wants to buy. They can work on building a bigger down payment. The whole family can help. So reaching out through your older customers as gatekeepers to that next generation and calling them and saying, hey, we've got this fantastic new tool that can help your kids be ready to buy a house sooner. Let's get them started today with a Home Funded campaign. And the whole family can help, the grandparents can help, etc. It gives you something to actually reach out to those gatekeepers and say, hey, this is a fantastic new tool. What parent wouldn't want to have that phone call, right? To say, hey, there's a way to help my kids buy a house sooner. So we see a lot of agents going out, tapping into their past clients who are aging in place, who are stuck in a 3% loan, enjoying a 3% loan, not going to move, not going to downsize yet, but you can monetize those buyers by having that phone call with them and sharing, here's this great tool to be able to help your kids. Strategy 4, this is what we call our trash to treasure strategy. This is going after all those sideline buyers. There's a lot of agents out there that have given up on buyers who either aren't ready don't have the right credit, don't have the right income, are freaked out by inventory issues out there on the marketplace. They're just waiting for, something to happen in life, like they're getting married, or, maybe they've got to finish school first. A lot of agents won't touch those folks until they're actually in the market, and then they wait for a phone call. You can reach up the funnel, grab onto those folks, put them in your pipeline today. Those people have a timeline of their own. You're not in control of their timeline anyway. But what you are in control of is when you engage with that potential buyer, that prospective buyer. And Home Funded allows you to do that. It allows that buyer to get ready sooner because they're getting help on the down payment. Now, they may still have all those other issues they have to work out: the job, the credit score, waiting for the perfect house to come up. Doesn't matter, right? Those are separate issues. The down payment issue never goes away, right? And so if you can engage with somebody earlier, those buyers who need time for whatever reason become your customers because you set them up with a Home Funded campaign. So these are folks who are in that prospective column, the 40 million, the 10 for every one buyer in the market. That's the strategy, and it goes right after those folks and allows you to put them in your pipeline today. So that's great. Strategy 5 is renovation. This is kind of a cool new strategy that people are starting to use with Home Funded more and more. We've got a very, very strong renovation loan team and some really unique project consulting resources. And we're seeing people put that together with Home Funded and come up with a solution to the inventory problem that's out there today. There's, we all know about that. But the fact is that a lot of first-time buyers won't touch properties that need a lot of help, because not only, they think, wow, it's this big deal taking on my first home, do I also want to take on a giant renovation project? Well, with the right help and the right down payment resources, you can make it happen. And I actually think this strategy is probably one of the stronger Home Funded stories out there. We couldn't find what we were looking for in the marketplace today. We couldn't find the perfect house, but we found this old fixer up, and we're wondering if you might be able to help us with our down payment. By the way, our lender is matching us 2-to-1, and by the way, my real estate agent's matching us 1-to-1. And family and friends are saying, yeah, let's become part of that story, that HGTV story, right? So this is exactly what people are doing with Home Funded. Again, strong campaign story. Last strategy here I want to share with you is organization. So shifting from individual buyers to companies who want to help their people, or organizations who want to help their people become homeowners. And so we've got a special portal that we're setting up, and practically every day I'm talking to some loan officer or real estate agent that is working with a company that wants to get started on this program. I had 2 yesterday. And we build these portals for companies. They become effectively part of their HR program, a benefit for the company to offer its people. Our best one here right now is this organization called Hamra. You don't know the company, you've probably eaten at one of their restaurants, Wendy's, Panera, Noodles and Company. They have about 20,000 employees all through the Midwest and Northeast. So probably somewhere in your area. And the bottom line is that they have 3 portals actually. They're helping with employees at $1,000 per employee, $1,500, or $2,500, depending on where they live. So we have 3 different portals running. We're stacking on top of that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac grants, $2,000 from CMG, gifting from their family and friends, and we're getting people over the line. They probably have 60 campaigns running right now across the 3 portals. Basically, if you have a relationship with a company, HR director, CEO, and they like the idea of Home Funded, we can set one of these up for their people. And then basically all you have to do is do first-time home buyer events, real estate events within the company. Good example is with Hammer, we do quarterly employee events with loan officer, real estate agent, and people can ask all kinds of questions. They can set up a Home Funded campaign right from here. We have hospital chains. East Alabama Health uses it. Graceland University in Southern Iowa uses it. Even builders are now starting to use it as a way to hold on to buyers that come by developments and the development isn't ready or the buyer isn't ready. So if you've got one of these where you've got an organization that wants to help, let us know, and we can set up a meeting where we can walk them through how these portals work. There is an admin in the company at Hamra that basically monitors all the campaigns that are running. So they have a login to their portal, and there's marketing materials that are built right into their portal, et cetera. So it's a great way to leverage, that kind of horsepower that you get. And then there's kind of an interesting mix of the wedding service providers and that corporate strategy where you can go to wedding planners. I'm just finishing up right now, setting up a portal for a wedding planner. And they can offer home funded to their customers with a match of their own, basically. So it's an interesting thing. When you go to a wedding expo, you're surrounded by these potential business partners, which is really kind of a cool strategy. So to kind of wrap up, today when you're meeting with a buyer in the traditional sense, they think they're ready. They're down there at the end of this long journey of getting ready to buy a house. But with Home Funded, you can start that relationship in the moment, whenever, right? All they have to do is be a prospective buyer. They don't have to be ready to buy. They're going to get ready sooner because they're getting help from outside, from family and friends. And in all cases, you're going to be able to win that buyer earlier. You're going to be able to speed up the process, and you're preempting a deal that your competitors can no longer have because they're in your pipeline, not somebody else's. So you can engage with that buyer much, much earlier. It all boils down to getting people on these campaign pages. So for you, your buyer can speed up the process. You can grab onto buyers earlier. It helps you generate more referrals once they do buy. For your buyer, it's a game changer because you're taking the friction out of this down payment process, and that opens up all kinds of possibilities. Family, friends, grandparents, etc., things that wouldn't have happened before. Again, that's how you're speeding up the process of helping them buy a house. So it's really online down payment gifting, again, where anyone can buy. So the main thing I tell people is set up a realtor portal, get one of those started as soon as you can, work it into every first-time buyer discussion you have. Our biggest producers of this product, they bring it up every time because, frankly, I bet there isn't a first-time buyer you've met that couldn't use a larger down payment. So every one of them should probably hear a program like this and let them see what they do with it. And again, the earlier the better. They don't have to be in the market. We're so used to, waiting until that buyer is ready. The key here with Home Funded is identifying prospective buyers, that 40 million group, not the 4 million group, right? They're out there. They're all over the place. They're just not people we normally think to engage with because there's normally not much you can do with those people, right? Now you can put them in your pipeline today. So it's a retraining for all of us to be able to say, wow, okay, I am going to go talk to my past clients about their kids and how they're doing and where they're at on their timelines, because I can start them today. So that's a whole new way of thinking. And that's the shift. That's the shift. And little things, posting those testimonial videos, putting links to your portal all over the place, signature blocks, stuff like that. We see some great stuff there. And that's Home Funded. So I'll stop and answer any questions that you guys might have. I know we got about 12 minutes here, I think.
Yeah, thanks so much, Doug, for doing this here. Are there any questions? If so, you can feel free to unmute or put it in the chat. While we're waiting to see if anybody throws a question in, Doug, I thought I'd ask the question, specifically the piece you skipped over.
Mm-hmm.
Can somebody just create an account and then go buy a house tomorrow? And get that credit, I should ask?
Obviously you need to talk to family and friends about getting some gift funds in, so that might take a little bit of time. Typically what we see when people set up a campaign page, the typical gifting for a solid campaign is 4 to 12 weeks, somewhere in there. The average duration on a campaign today is about 6 months. It used to be much, much shorter. As agents and loan officers are figuring this thing out, they're starting them earlier and earlier. And that's because it gives people time to work it into their life. So if you jam your buyer on the back end, they're already in the house shopping process, they're practically ready to buy. They don't have time to go talk to people. You're going to get pretty much what you got before. One gift from mom and dad. Not so good. Doesn't generate a lot of referrals down the road because no new people came to the party, right? So start them early. That is the #1 rule in this whole thing. Start as early as you possibly can. Don't have to worry about the loan. Don't have to worry about whether they're ready to buy. They just have to need a bigger down payment. And I guarantee you, every one of them will. So that's the #1 rule. Can you do it at the very last? Yeah, but it doesn't generate huge money that you wouldn't have gotten before by a paper check, And again, not much downstream referral power.
Perfect. Thank you. And then just a quick side note with that is with most of the programs, you do actually need a little bit of time to let the money sit there and season in
Yep.
order to use it. So just keep that in mind.
Yep.
And to your point, Doug, about getting started early, my niece just turned 18 and I told her the day you turn 18, you're coming over, we're setting you up with a credit card and a home funded account. So
Yep.
she has one. She has no plans to buy a home for probably 10 years, but why not have it? Why not get it going? So there's really no one it's not too soon. And I had another client just the other day, they had 60, 70 grand in their account already, but mom and dad were going to give them another 20, 30,000 as a gift. So I said, well, before they give you the gift, let's
Yeah.
set up home fund it. So then they got 2,000 more from us as well to go towards it just because they gave the gift, and it made it easier to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't discount anyone, whether you think they're qualified or not. Just who doesn't want free money? It's a pretty
Yeah.
easy sell.
Yeah, and David mentioned seasoning. We do require seasoning on the gift funds. So usually that's a couple bank statements. So again, start really early to make sure you can use those funds in the transaction. Now with Freddie Mac, if you're using a Freddie Mac loan, Home Possible, Freddie Mac conventional, if you're doing one of those Freddie Mac renovation loans, like Choice Renovation, there's no seasoning required on Freddie Mac. We have a special deal with them, so you can actually fundraise right down to the end with Freddie Mac, which is kind of cool. But you can't, that depends on what kind of a loan program you're going to be able to use.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I know we're going to have to keep this short for timing. AJ, I'm sorry, but we wanted to make sure we also had a chance to have AJ talk a little bit more again about some of the down payment assistance programs that may or may not tie into this directly, but are alternative sources to provide funds to solve for this problem. So AJ, take it away in 5 minutes?
You got it. I'll just add on one because it was a recent client, and his grandma couldn't figure out how to do it online. She thought it was, so I just called her and walked her through it, and and what was really cool, making that extra step that I don't know, because most people, it's really a simple process, but she just couldn't figure it out. She was so excited to donate to her grandson. She talked about how proud she was with her grandson. It was a real cool piece to be through that I'm normally not, because the customer or the donor just goes through that step. And the step was literally, when I went on to it, that's the other reason I like to know these things. It took 20 seconds. That's how fast it was for her to donate $500. I think the other piece I would add to it, and I help them a little bit, but the program allows them to go ask their friends and family for gifts, because normally they don't want to. Most of my customers are like, I don't really want. I'm like, you don't have to. I'm just bringing this up. Take a look at it. What I found, when you ask your family members and friends that have the means, they really love to be part of your home ownership experience. They know what home ownership means to them. So to me, it helps. This program alone just helps give them the ammunition or the information for them to ask. So just one piece on that I wanted to add for home funded. The other program I'm going to bring up, and I talked about this last time, and I'm sure everybody here in Minnesota is familiar with it, Minnesota Housing. Jill, I'm going to send you some information afterwards as well. So Minnesota Housing will provide CE credits to take their class, which you can learn even more. And they'll also allow it if, Jill, if you wanted to try to do an in-person one, or you could have them come out. So if you have, commit to having so many people register for it, they'll actually come out to your office and do one. So I'll send you that information. I would say kind of in the hierarchy of when I talk about down payment assistance to customers, it's home funded and Minnesota Housing. Last year, I probably helped about 20 customers with home funded, probably helped about 15 customers with Minnesota Housing. Those two programs, because Minnesota Housing is a bond loan, are mutually exclusive. But the reason I like the program is it covers the whole state. They don't run out of money. It's a minimum investment of $1,000. Depending on purchase price, I usually tell my clients budget for about $1,500 to $1,700, because they'll have their earnest money and then a home inspection. Try to get as close to that 1,000 as possible, but that's ballpark about what I usually tell them to budget for. Minnesota Housing is the most aggressive in terms of their guidelines and easy to access. As a lender, as a direct seller servicer to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, I don't send it to Minnesota Housing to review and confirm and approve it, and then they send their own funds. We send all of our own funds. Most other down payment assistance programs, So through NeighborWorks or the CEE, we have to send everything to them, follow their timeline and their schedule. They're not as fast, not because they don't want to be, they're just understaffed and have more customers to help than normal. So, and what they get isn't always good, so they don't even know what's going to close and what's not. So that's a big difference. So Minnesota Housing, the lender controls the timing and the piece on that. The other ones with like NeighborWorks and CEE, they don't. You got to go on them. They're minimum of 30 days. So whenever I'm talking to a client that we're looking at other programs other than Minnesota Housing, I let them know, let's get 35 days, 35 days plus. So if you're ever using any down payment assistance other than Minnesota Housing, I would highly recommend, because they flat out say 30 days, and that's from the time you get it to them. And NeighborWorks, for one, there's no bending on that. You're going to waste time trying to talk them into anything else. And I think the big piece of it is just the information of knowledge of who your clients are working with. Does the lender have one? Do they have the product offering? I know, we're in a business of, sell what you have. So I know, I've been around a long time, so I know lenders that they're like, AJ, I don't offer that, or we don't really do that. I don't like that program. And I'm like, tell me why. And a lot of times they either don't offer it or they don't know it. And because they don't know it, they don't want to talk about it or present it as an option to a customer. And that's not doing a great job as a lender, because you're not providing your customer all the different options that are out there and available. I think that's the big thing, is the goal is to educate and inspire them into home ownership, having a vast knowledge of all the different programs. And there's more. I mean, we try to collectively, our group of 15 LOs in the Twin Cities, we either gather whenever we come across new programs or products, so then we're all aware of them so we can share them with our customers. But the good news is more and more are coming on. The biggest one that's coming on is the first generation. Probably heard something about it already. They're starting to get closer to having the dates, and then closer to rolling out the more data. The big one coming out at the end of the month, I'll send this to you as well, Jill. So Minnesota Housing has a first generation program, and then so does this other government entity. This other government entity, it's actually out of Detroit Lakes. They've got 100 million, so it's a total of 150 million. But they're administering it through other places like NeighborWorks or the CEE. So they're going to be running that program for them, which again, what that means is it's going to be extra steps. They're allowing a customer to reserve the funds. That just gets a little, but that's their program. So we'll just go with the process. So what that means is a customer could apply for it, get it, and then they're going to be able to funds reserved for 90 days. I think that can be aggravating just because all it does is backs everything up and slows everything down. But I'm not in charge of that. Sell what you got. So and Minnesota Housing is not going to do that. Minnesota Housing is going to be first come, first serve until their funds run out, which is 50 million. So, I mean, this should not be anticipating that they're going to run out of funds this year at all. But it's going to be a great opportunity to help even more people. And that $30,000, $30,000 to $35,000, if you think about it, is a pretty big savings. It's probably a savings ballpark in the vicinity of like $250 when you factor in $10,000, equates to about $70 in mortgage payment. Plus, it should also, if on a conventional loan, reduce their PMI, pretty good chunk as well. So it's going to be a great one. So there's a training at the end of the month for the first generation, not the MHFA one, but the first generation through the other government entity that you'll want to be able to start listening, or at least be on their website so you can share more information. So I'm out of time at this juncture. I think if you're able to take the training, the CE training through Minnesota Housing, that's great information. Not that you can't call myself or David, be more than happy to help you out. But these are the programs and opportunities to help fill that gap and provide the good information. I wrote down Doug's, the myth still persists. I like that, it kind of rhymes, of people needing 20% down or 10% down. And that's just not the case. They don't need that much money down. So thank you so much. Thank you everybody for your time. Jill, thanks again for inviting us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I do know, and we can kind of go over here. I know that Doug said he has to go, so I want to say thank you for that presentation. That was really helpful to kind of slow down that process and help us with that. If you guys want to address some of the questions in the chat, we can go over a few minutes. If people need to pop off, they definitely can. But want to make sure we address those questions.
I appreciate it. Yeah, to Dennis's question, he was asking there a second ago. They can't start this program, and I'm assuming you're talking about Home Fund It. Start this program with a different lender and then apply this program. Well, if they're working with CMG Financial, they can get access to it. But if they start with us and then they go to a different lender, they'll still have their gift money. That's not going to go anywhere. That's their money. But the credit that we're going to give, we're not going to give them a credit to go work with a competitor. So they're not going to get that. So I hope that answers that question. Key point again, Home Funded is awesome to use for any program except the Minnesota Housing Finance Program. They're two separate things, but depending on the client, there are situations where you may want to use one versus the other, and that's where just understanding that distinction comes in. There was I think, Pamela, we answered this question earlier. Somebody asked if you need all of your own money, or if it can be 100%, or excuse me, some of your own money in the deal, or can you do 100% gift for the down payment if you're not using Minnesota Housing? And the answer is yes, you can get 100% gift for that. But for Minnesota Housing, you do need a minimum contribution of at least $1,000 of your own money in the transaction. So make sure we understand that point. One other thing I wanted to just say, first of all, thank you, AJ, for sharing that too. You don't need to know all of this, because we just threw a lot of information at you. You don't need to know any of this, really. You just need to know it exists. Grab that link if you don't have it already. By the way, you need to pick your mortgage professional in there you're tied to. So that person's name is David Youngs. So put that name in there. AJ is actually our area manager, so he works directly with me. Our offices are right next to each other when I'm in the physical office there. And so anything you need help with, we both can assist. If you would like to have a presentation done to a buyer or a group of people, or as was mentioned, if you know somebody that is maybe a head of HR in a corporation or a wedding planner, whatever it is, and we want to go in together and present, let us know, whether that's in person or Zoom. We're happy to do that. We also have tons and tons of marketing content. So almost everything we have can be co-branded. In fact, I just checked. We are up to, as of today, we've got just flyers alone, 927 flyers that we can co-brand for you for anything you want. And this includes even other content as well. Like we can build a website for properties. We can help you with video marketing. We can help you with social media marketing. There's a lot of stuff that we can assist with. CMG's has an incredible marketing platform that we've done that's designed back for helping you succeed with that. So if you want anything co-branded, let us know. We also want to make this as easy as possible. So again, just don't overcomplicate it. Just let them know there's a program that's out there, or there's programs that are out there to help you get money faster, some of which is free money, no strings attached. As an example, if you get the Home Funded account with the $2,000 of free money from us as a lender credit, and say you're using the Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac program that they just changed, by the way, effective in a few days here, you can get up to $2,500 from the first-time homebuyer program that they offer. Put them together, that's $4,500 free money going into this account from these two other entities before the borrower has put a single dollar of their own money in that account. So how many of your buyers would like $4,500 of free money just for taking a 1-hour free online course? It's that simple. So let us help you get that information to them. And in addition, our contact information, both AJ, myself, and Doug are all in the chat there. So if you're watching this on a recording, go check that. But I would love to schedule a one-to-one with any and all of you to go into a deeper dive in your business, because everyone's focus maybe is a little different type of clientele, different things that they're working on. So if you have questions and you want to go through things together, I would love to meet each of you and help where I can. So with that said, are there any other questions to answer in the chat or anything else somebody wanted to ask quickly before we jump off?
There was one on there, David. I think it was Maria who asked it about open houses. I'm going to assume in some of your marketing materials, there's going to be some open house stuff. What I will say too is, you guys, I am planning a broker's open type open house, and I will make sure that I get David invited to that as well, where he can get set up and meet people face to face and go over what they can do for an open house. I think that would be really helpful just to have that hands-on experience. So I am planning that for March. So we will make sure that we have, you know, David there, so he can share that information, because I
Perfect.
think that's, again, a really good tool to have for the marketing piece to it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, today's focus was not on open houses, but completely separate topic. But yes, any open house that you have, we can create co-branded content surrounding the property. And like I mentioned, we can actually build you a co-branded website that has school district information, rent versus own analysis, your contact information, all your social media links, the photos of the home, everything pulls directly through the MLS. All we need is two things. We need your this is actually for all marketing content. We need your profile headshot, high resolution logo, all contact information, including your license information and so on. So we get you one time in the system. And then once you're in there, all we need for the website is your MLS, the MLS number for the property. That one MLS number, that's it. We can create it, and or any content that you want from there. It's with a few clicks of a button, I can create it and launch it for you guys or send it out. So just let us know if you have an open house coming up, a listing, whatever it is. Happy to help.
Perfect. All right, you guys, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to David or AJ, or Doug that was on the call. Again, this is such good information. We had so many questions about that down payment assistance, so I'm so happy these guys are back. We will bring these guys back again for another topic. They just bring a wealth of information to us, so we're really excited about that. Reach out to them, schedule a one-on-one, you know, get on their system. They're here to help you with that in the down payment assistance. Next week, our topic, we have somebody coming on that is a local agent here in Minnesota that specializes in short-term rentals. And so we are bringing her on to talk about all things short-term rentals and how to help your clients, how to look for short-term rentals yourself. So that's going to be exciting. But thank you guys so much for your time today. Thank you to all the agents who are on the call and taking your time to learn a little bit more from us. We will get some information sent out from AJ and David as well, and make sure we get that out to everybody who is on the call, but reach out to them for sure. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Jill. Another great meeting. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
for having
David.
us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, email if you're asking. Again, dyoungs@cmghomeloans.com. For whatever reason, they changed mine instead of what AJ's is at CMGFI. So
Perfect. Have an amazing day, everybody.
Thank you, Joe, very much. This is way over my head right now, but it is fabulous, fabulous, fabulous.
Reach out to David, Lynn. Reach out to David.
yes, we'll help. We'll help. I promise.
Thank you. Great
We have to go.
meeting.
Thank you.